Come on. It should take me a minute to start the recording.
It's showing recording on my end.
Oh, is it? I see recording is loading. There we go. All right, it started on my end. So we live now.
Hey, we live.
So this gonna be like episode 1 / brainstorming session. I don't know, but main thing is we just got to get it going.
Path to Peculiar.
Path to Peculiar. Yeah, you already know we've been talking about this for a minute. I know for me, I've been wanting to create some type of content for probably 2 years, and I kept making excuses as to why I'm pushing it back. I need to have the best equipment. I need to have all my banners and my logos made.
Yeah.
We just need to get it started.
Perfectionist. And you know, personally, through our conversations, we done shot at least 20, 30 episodes worth of good content. Yeah.
At least 24 hours worth of content. We've been talking on the phone or just brainstorming ideas or where we're trying to get to. So it's about time to actually put it down, put it on the paper.
We can date some of these conversations almost back to almost 20 years ago now.
That's facts.
We
definitely gonna be talking about it for sure.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, so you know, let's go ahead and introduce ourselves to the community. You know what I mean? And so I kick it off. I'm Armand Green. You know this man Justin for coming up on 20 years. You know what I mean? And we've been sharing a path of knowledge and information since the beginning. Truth be told, so you know it's a blessing to be able to sit in front of folks nowadays and let's share our ideas with the world and kind of get our word out there and kind of share our path.
For sure. Sure. Yeah. So I'm Justin, aka Just Notified, and you know, been wanting to put something together for a while as far as content based on my experience, based on my life learnings, life lessons. And so really just want to welcome everybody to the channel. Really, we're here to inspire people just based off of our journey. We don't know it all. We're still learning it, but we do know both of us have a goal to really control our destiny and have a different outcome from the tradition. And so I guess that's a good segue into the name of the podcast, which is Path to Peculiar. I know when you first hear that, you might be wondering, what exactly does that mean? That sounds weird. So we can definitely kind of talk about what that means to us and then the type of content that we want to deliver to the community based off of that. So I know we really just came up with this name a week ago, and it was off of, we had another call like this where it was just brainstorming. We were trying to figure out what type of content we wanted to make, how we're going to put it out there, what platforms. And then the first thing was, hey, we got to come up with the name. And so we were kind of going back and forth. But I don't know. So what's your first thoughts when I hit you up like, hey, what do you think about this name?
My first thoughts were, because we were thinking path to something, right? And I was like, peculiar, because we were trying to find some synonyms for peculiar, which kind of just describes our journey, right? So, you know, the average American, especially Black Americans, you know, most of us have this, you know, perceived notions about money or building wealth and those sort of things, right? So when we wanted to try to find a title that kind of captures, you know, our journey, and there was no other way to explain it but peculiar, you know, and because it's not the average path that most of us take. And so when I first thought of it, I was like, hey, I don't know, that may not be it. Yeah. But as I started thinking about it, we started talking about it, I was like, man, I don't think there's any other name that captures what we're trying to do better.
It kind of grow on you a little bit.
Yeah.
Kind of grow on you a little bit. To that point, it was, we were trying to come up with this, and we knew that we wanted it to be something like our journey to something different was initially kind of the concept. And so we were trying to figure out how can we put that in a short phrase. And so came up with all type of words, course, journey, path, walk, all type of stuff. And then the second being, okay, how do we say, something out of the ordinary. And so we're thinking about extraordinary, all types of synonyms for that. So we came across peculiar. We're saying, okay, what about path to peculiar? And at first, it was like, yeah, I don't know if that's a hitter right there. We kind of put that one to the bottom of the list, and we try to think of some other stuff, but then kept coming back to it. And so I guess as far as what path to peculiar means to me is, number one, if you're joining in with our journey, like I mentioned before, we don't know it all. We're still trying to learn it all, but we know kind of the end goal of where we want to be. And that is completely financially independent, sufficient, where we don't have to be working on somebody's job until we're 60, 65, 70 years old to try to make ends meet. We want to be completely financially independent. And so while we're doing that, you guys can follow along with us on different things that we learn, different things that could be helpful tips for you as well. But then also on the back end, when it comes to the peculiar piece, to Armand's point, it's not normal for somebody to get to a point of they've built wealth where they can pass that along from the next generation to the next generation. And so that's my end goal, is to be able to build that wealth and pass that along. Statistically, when you look at things, whatever normal means is, I see there's credit card debt, student loan debt, and generally people just think, okay, that's normal. That's how life is supposed to be. But we want to kind of redefine the outcome of our destiny based on making sure we're putting the right things in place where we're redefining normal. I don't want to be normal based on what I've seen what normal is. Why would I want to? And so that's kind of what that means to me, and some of the stuff we're going to be talking about.
And certainly, and so the thing that I'm most inspired about when it comes to our message, and most importantly our conversations, is that we don't come from a place of, we already made it to the mountaintop. We are in the thick of this climb. We still got our harnesses strapped to us, and we taking it one step, one climb at a time. And so I think the cool thing about, like I said, our journey is that we're still learning too, and we're still receptive to kind of other people's information, which kind of leads into, our future episodes will definitely start to capture, bringing in folks that we don't, that are subject matter experts in the areas that we're not that smart on, or things that we've not experienced. Because the cool thing about building wealth is that there's millions of ways to get it accomplished, and there's millions of different viewpoints and how you can accomplish your financial independence and those sort of things. And so, ours are just maybe two perspectives out of millions. And so, when we can start to dig into other people's perspective, or kind of, learn from and share, other people's perspective and the things that they've learned, most notably crypto, right? You guys will probably hear us talking about this, in the future. Justin and I are not the subject matter experts in cryptos.
Not even close.
Right? So, eventually probably bringing folks in, talk to us, teach us, and so.
Yeah, 1,000.
Yeah.
1,000. And I mean, to that point, I think that's maybe something different when you're talking about watching somebody's content that they put out on YouTube or another platform. From what I've seen in most cases, they're talking to you from an expert level. Hey, do it like this. This is the best way to do it. In which there's a lot of ways to be able to accomplish a goal. And so here, I like the fact that our approach is more, we're in the thick of the journey. And so we're open-minded too. If somebody has more knowledge or experience in a certain area, we're not closed-minded to the point where we say, no, you got to do it this way. I mean, we're open to learn to get where we want to get to. And at the same time, we've had our own personal experiences. So we're experts on our own opinion. Based on what I've been through, there's certain things I'm just not going to do. Certain things I'm just not going to try again. But I do like this is going to be kind of an area where we can share that knowledge back and forth. And it's really just an open-minded place to be able to share ideas, share experiences, with the ultimate goal of getting to that milestone that we want to achieve.
Right. So, I mean, let's get it.
Yeah, bro. Hey,
so, like I said, so one of many, we're going to have a, 001.
For sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
definitely. So you know, well, you want to kick it into some of our, you know, it's kind of what got us to this point, right? How did we start having these type of conversations? Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Hey, I mean, this could be a long story for me because I mean, I guess I'll say it's mainly because there are certain times where I hit certain areas of my life where I told myself, I don't ever want to be in this position again. And I didn't necessarily know how to avoid it. And I started just doing research and learning. So, for example, and this happened, was it 2021? This happened maybe 5 or 6 years ago. At one point, I looked at my bank account and I had $0 in my bank account. As a grown man, had $0 in my bank account, and I'm sitting back, just completely distraught. Like, okay, how did I get here, and how can I make sure I never get to this point ever again? So that was probably the first major wake up call that I had. And, I think when people experience challenges in their life, they have two options. You can either dwell on that and use that as an excuse as to why maybe your life isn't what you want it to be,
All right.
or you can use that as a learning lesson and turn things around to say, hey, I never want to be here again. And so I kind of went to a few different sources of trying to learn how to manage my finances better. One of the main ones being Dave Ramsey. I started subscribing to some of the content that he was putting out, so I could try to get out of debt, not get back there again. But that was my first wake up call, to kind of start this journey of not wanting to be normal.
Right. Yeah. And my story is, at the time married, 2 kids. We were living in Vegas, and I'm just sitting there like, man, every check, he had enough to cover ends meet. So like we never struggled, and that's a blessing in and of itself. But it just got real tired of being in a constant position where, you're counting how much money you got left because to the next check, and because by a week into this, after getting paid this first time, all the bills is paid, but you can't do nothing else. You ain't got no more money, right? And so that journey of going from check to check was just like, that's not the way to live. And how do you kind of create that separation with your money and be able to build on the things and to kind of have some freedom and financial freedom, and to be able to save money for your future and kind of be goal driven towards building wealth. So some days, like, hey, if my car break down, it ain't like I got to go into more debt to get that car fixed, because we were in situations where if anything goes wrong,
Yep.
we got to go into more debt to fix that problem.
That's
and
real.
I just got tired of living that way, and we had, babies to kind of provide for, and to be able to, create some type of financial freedom for them, hopefully in the future. And so that's kind of like a lot of my driving force behind, my initial want and urge to start to build some wealth, right? And initially, I would be honest with you, Justin, it was just as simple as initially just being able to create some space to where we want to go out to eat more, we could, right? It might not have been initially guided by anything more than just a small goal, right? But yeah, that's kind of how we kicked it off and kind of got started.
Yeah, straight up. That's real stuff. I think it's probably a lot of society that experience that same thing, living paycheck to paycheck. If an emergency happens to come up, everybody hair on fire trying to figure out how are we gonna handle this, where we gonna get the money from, etc. And I'm speaking from a standpoint of, I've talked to a lot of people that have shared stories with me. That's just kind of the position that they're in, and that's not anything that I want to make routine in my life. So it's definitely a lot of plans and goals that we got to be able to change that.
Yeah. And I think this the first biggest change that we made in our household was the stop living at or above our means.
Yeah.
Right. If everything that comes in must go out. When I say must go out, is because we've already committed to ourselves to paying for that, like, you know, our car note and the residence we chose to live in with a certain rent or mortgage or those sort of things. Of course, if you always counting, okay, well, if I go ahead and buy this car with this car note, I'll still have this amount left, right? With that mentality, we started to be like, well, cool, we'll have $500 left until the next, after all the bills is paid, but then you don't even count in the miscellaneous things, the gas, the extra little details that next thing you know, you're like, hold on, man, I'm supposed to have $500 left and I ain't got but $50. You know what I'm saying? And it's a week and a half to my next paycheck.
Straight up.
And so, you know, and that was our first kind of, I guess, small tweak was, all right, initially we was living just slightly above our means. Then we transitioned to living at our means. And then once we started living below our means, that's when I started realizing like, hey, this is where it's at. Because our lifestyle and the joy for life didn't change. It's just the fact that we actually had a couple dollars left over. It might have started as $50 left over after a check. You know, to the next check that could roll over and get put in a savings account and those sort of things. But
and even that right there, bro, that take a lot of stress away.
It takes a lot of stress away.
Yeah. That's real stuff. And you know, one of the things that we were talking about, one of our last phone conversations was, you know, why do you think for some people they take those lessons and they learn from it, and then maybe for other people those lessons hit and they don't necessarily make any changes? And to me, the lineage of this whole thing is interesting because I think what you're talking about as far as living below your means, maybe starting to budget in certain ways where you can save some money and put some of that away, I feel like even that comes from the having a why. Why are you doing that? If your why is not important enough to you, then you probably won't start putting in all those measures to get to where you want to be. So for me personally, and I guess the analogy I could use is it would be different from somebody who maybe goes to the gym or works out because they want to be able to, for vanity purposes, let's say for that. It's probably a lot easier for that person to skip days and lose motivation versus a person who was told, hey, you need to start taking care of yourself health wise, diet, nutrition, exercise, or else your heart is going to fail. Like when you have a why like that, I feel like that person is going to take it so much more seriously to be able to make the changes that they have to versus a person that doesn't necessarily feel like they need to, but maybe do it because it's something nice to do, whatnot. And so for me, I got to a point where it was like, okay, I'm going to put a budget in place. I'm going to start living below my means. I'm going to start eliminating a lot of stuff as far as like monthly expenses that I don't need because I need to get here. I personally cannot survive to maybe even the age of 50 working for somebody else. I can't do it. And so I need to put the measures in place now to build that success or build that routine or habit so that I don't have to. And so I think having a big why is important to being intentional when it comes to budgeting and saving and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, certainly. And it's your why that kind of can create that sense of urgency for you, right?
Straight up.
I mean, you know, like how many times has individuals made some type of fitness goal, right? And they say, well, you know, by next year, man, I'm trying to be, like you said, that vanity that I'm trying to be big and swole. And 6 months later, you realize, well, I ain't hit the gym but once. And then you realize, had I been actually doing, you know, what I set out to do 6 months ago, I'd already be halfway to my progress, right? And that's kind of the same outlook when it comes to finance, right? We you know, most of us will know that we're experiencing some type of financial troubles, right? Whether it be, you know, living check to check or in massive amounts of debt, right? But it's kind of just like it's always the next year's goal or the next you know, the next step, right? And it's kind of one of those situations where you have to just create that your why has to be larger than your spending habits, right?
And
like that. You know, building wealth for my baby. So I always say, on this shout out to my cousin because I've been telling him this since I was a kid, right? I'm in a dynasty building business, right?
Yeah.
So my with my wife and my babies, I want to create an environment for them to where they don't have to worry about certain things, right? They got something to build on to versus building from the ground up. And how the hell am I going to finance a dynasty, right? My quote, what I call a dynasty, with no money. You know what I'm saying? How with no with no anything, right? And so how do I create this environment for them to build onto if I ain't built the ground level first? And that's kind of just like was a part of one of my whys, and quite frankly, just got tired of it. Just got tired of being broke, man.
Yeah.
And it's like, money ain't the most important thing in the world, but if I can remove one stressor out of my life, and that's usually one of most folks' biggest stressor is that money, right?
Absolutely.
Where's the money coming from? I want to live a life to where, if my wife and I decide we want to retire and we don't want to worry about these things, or my kids get grown and they have families of their own and they need my help, I'm able to be there at a moment's notice, right? I ain't got to worry about whether I got to be at work tomorrow or not, and that's one of the things important to me. Shout out to my moms, by the way. Like, this woman, no matter where I've lived, she's been that woman, right? She's been able to come out, and that was my first little glimpse, Justin. I don't think I've shared this with you. That's my first little glimpse of, learning to add that to my why, was my mom, being able to kind of, no matter where I've lived in this country, she's flown to and been there with us through critical times, right? Childbirth, and just times when we were in need. My wife left for some training for like 3 months. My mom was on the plane. She was out here with me the whole time, and those sort of things, right? And that kind of create that environment for me. It's like, man, when my babies have babies, I need to be that dad to be like, hey, they need me for 3 months. I'm on the plane or I'm at the house for 3 months.
Yeah, man.
And I can't get there if I ain't got my money sorted.
Like you said, yeah, for sure. You're not able to do those things that you want to do when you strap down to a job and you ain't got no vacation time, whatever the case is. So yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing about the financial freedom aspect. When you get to a certain point, you want to just be able to do what you need to do. So yeah, I feel that. And I'm glad you brought up that point too, because you and I have talked about this before to an extent. I've been ridiculed before about, oh, you only care about money. It's all about money. That's not what this channel is about. That's not our message as far as being greedy or wanting to make, as much money or the most money that you can. And it's just a money grab. That's not our message. Because for that, yes, I understand money is a vehicle to get me to where I want to go, but I don't like thinking about money. I don't want to ever have to think about money again. And that to me is when you've made it, when you've established yourself to a point where you don't really have to worry about, okay, I spent this much, how much more do I have left? I got these bills coming up, so let me make sure that this much is in the account. I don't ever want to think about that again. So right now, while I'm young, I want to be able to instill these principles to get me to the point where I get older and whatnot, that I don't have to think about money anymore. But it's not just a greed of money, not at all.
Right. And so part of the things we've talked about in the past is like we see money as but a tool, right?
Mm-hmm.
And nothing more, nothing less. But certainly, you can tell by my lifestyle, like, money ain't the most important thing. I don't care about driving no flashy cars.
Yeah.
I don't really care about having the latest attire. I don't care about none of that, right? And so, it's not really the drive, but it is a path to some sorts of freedom, right? That financial freedom, just being able to move how I want to move, when I want to move, for the reasons I want to move, right?
Exactly.
And we can't be naive in this world and think that that's just going to happen just off the strength, right? That's the only way that happens is if you build, your wealth to a certain standpoint where you have more than you'll ever need, right?
Sure.
And you just have that creative, that that freedom to kind of explore you, right? To if I want to on a Tuesday morning sleep in till 10 o'clock,
Yeah,
I want to be able to wake up on at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday morning.
that sounds
Um,
glorious to me.
that's the life. If I
Yeah,
want to fly, go visit my mama on a Wednesday, I want to go fly visit my mama on a Wednesday,
exactly.
and not be bound by having to work for someone else or no, I got to go get this check, so I can't do these certain things. I don't want money to be the reason why I can't ever do something, right?
Yeah,
Or live the life that I want to live.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I feel that, and that's something else. There's a principle or a word that resonates with me when you're talking about trying to accomplish really any goal. It doesn't have to be money related. It could be, if you want to be a musician or some type of artist or an athlete or whatever, that you know you're not going to make it there by accident. So
Yeah,
one of the words that sticks with me all the time is intentionality. You have to be intentional about budgeting, about saving, about putting together a financial strategy to get to the point that you want to be at. I mean, just like if you're going to be a professional athlete and win a championship at something, like they don't get there by accident. They put a certain amount of hours in, they put a certain amount of time in, all that stuff to get to that point. And so I feel like you have to be intentional about everything you're doing if you're trying to accomplish that goal.
yeah, definitely got to be intentional. Got to put the work. And I do want to reiterate that I can't wake up at 10 o'clock on a Tuesday right now. Like ain't there yet. But we, again, kind of our platform is going to be talking about, we are in the thick of our journey, and we're very intentional about how we go about these things. And in future episodes, we definitely going to kind of dive a little deeper into kind of like our strategies and the things that we do, and kind of even some of our plans moving forward.
Yeah.
And I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
it.
that
So
brings me to another point. I mean, as far as this channel is concerned, when it comes to the podcast, or if we put out any videos, I think a lot of the topics that we'll talk about, and again, from the standpoint of this is our experience, we're open to hearing other people's experience as well, and maybe changing the way that we do things. But it'll be around investing, it'll be around budgeting, it'll be around. There's a lot of different ways for people to make money out here. There's so many different ways, especially now when you're talking about it's a day and age where everything is done remotely. You can handle things just from, inside your house. And so with that, we'll be talking about side hustles. I have a few myself that are aside from my 9 to 5 job, where I'm trying to create streams of income that can turn into more passive streams of income, and then eventually kind of get me to a place where, again, I don't have to worry or think about money anymore. So those will be a lot of the topics that we cover in some of our future episodes as kind of we get deeper into this podcast.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, them trying to get to that wake up money where all as soon as you wake up, that money's rolling in, right?
Well, that mailbox money, bro.
Yeah. Woo. And so like you mentioned, right? My wife and I were just talking sometime this week, and we was talking about, man, there's so many ways to make a dollar now. And the crazy part about it is ways to make money, or just doing the things that you already enjoy, like kids, not even kids and adults, you know, playing video games, streaming it, getting their channels monetized and making money playing video games,
Yeah,
right?
straight up.
Or some of the things I know I'm engaging in, and I know you do, Justin, that reselling
Yeah.
on Amazon, eBay, those sort of things, right? Take a
Hmm.
little bit of your time, make it turn a profit. Real estate, owning businesses. There's just a million different ways to make money, and most of us have talent in us that are relatively untapped.
Yeah,
That's the
for sure.
part where um, that's crazy, right? And it's just kind of exploration of like, and it can genuinely be things that you enjoy, like and, and skills that you've gained through life or on the job working for somebody else that can then turn into a money making machine for yourself, right? For
Straight up.
instance, I'll use example. So I have a friend who, has been working for folks in cyber for quite some time, right? And then they turned their cyber skills into making Udemy courses, making money, selling the skills that they've learned on a job for the last decade, right? And that's just one stream of income.
That's a perfect example right there.
Right? Turn something that you already knew, you're making money working for that job now, and you're making money selling those skills that you have, that you've learned on that job. And chances are, if it's something that somebody would probably pay money to learn the things that you know. That's just one simple way to make it.
Yeah.
Or YouTube.
I've always been a proponent of content creation being a way or a stream of revenue that essentially you're already doing certain things. So just documenting what you're doing or what you enjoy doing or what you're good at or whatever, and putting that out on a platform where you have global exposure, or could have, where millions of people are able to view that content. I've always been a proponent of that. And so I'm definitely excited to kind of get that piece of it started from a YouTube front or social media front.
Yeah, definitely. And so, look at us. Hopefully someday we can monetize off the conversations that we've been having all these years.
Yeah.
Right. Create another stream of income, right?
Exactly. And then we can look back to some of these conversations that we documented specifically, talking about, hey, this is our goal. We want to get to that point. We start getting closer to that point, or we achieve that goal. We can kind of look back and like, man, that was a journey right there. And I'm glad that we actually started taking it seriously and moving the needle on it.
Yeah, straight up.
But
I'm just happy that we finally put a date on this.
Hey, for real. Hey, no, I'm glad we had that call last week, because it was, for me, I was kind of to the point where, we were talking about stuff. And it's funny because we always say, like, we have an 2-hour-long conversation, and we're like, well, we're dropping some gems in here. We need to record, document this, man. But yeah, we definitely need to get it going.
And I swear it'd be at like the 2-hour mark.
Straight up.
2-hour mark of the conversation. Like, man, if we would have just recorded, get this phone call.
Yeah, straight up. So hey, we're getting it going now. And I'll say kudos to both of us, because it's easy. I know, because I've been doing it for years. It's easy to make excuses, to push back certain things that you want to do. And in this particular avenue, it's fairly easy to get started, at least. And I kept making excuses for, I'm not going to stream. I'm not going to record this, yada, yada, yada. So I'm glad we got it started, though.
Yeah, and then sometimes, we get bit by the bug of the euphoria of just sharing our goals, right? And then, but once we share it, it's kind of sometimes like, oh, dang, that was the euphoric part about it, coming up with the idea and sharing it. And but really, manifesting it is really truly the euphoria that we're really seeking, or the drive that we're really seeking. And I'm just glad that we actually are putting something to it, right? Whether we get 1 view or 1 million views off our episodes, I think just the fact that we're doing it is already, a step in the right direction.
Yeah. I'm ready to put some stuff out there. I definitely, think that it's going to be a success, viral, overnight type deal. But for me, I feel like certain content can be catered to anybody. I feel like it'll bring value to anybody. And so I'm ready to do that. And one of the things that I was thinking about also, and I don't know your thoughts on this, but I completely understand that not everybody starts on the same level playing field. Nope. There are some people that experience more adversity in their life than others. Maybe some people that start off and they have maybe a leg up in certain areas. But I am a proponent of everyone can control their destiny based off of life lessons. If you learn from those and then you start applying different things to get to where you want to be, I feel like everybody has that same opportunity. And I've gotten into some conversations about that where people may debate that or not. I don't know your thoughts on kind of that whole argument.
Yeah, I definitely think that everybody has opportunity, right? To kind of take the oranges they were given and turn it into orange juice, right?
Mhm.
But the quality of those oranges and how much juice it can make, and let's be realistic, that's different for everybody,
Yeah.
and it may be based off of where you started,
Yep.
and who your parents were, or where you came from, or what the color of your skin is, really, to be quite honest with you. But I do believe that everybody can, with the tools that they're given, be able to, to be able to make something of it, even despite um, some of the adversity most of us may face, right? Like when it comes to specifically finances and money, um, it seems if you have an income, right? Um, Easier said than done, because I mean, if you make minimum wage, it's obviously it's a lot more difficult
Yeah.
um, to build wealth than somebody that's making $100,000 a year. So let's be realistic about that.
Right.
But I think the principles that we apply to kind of living below our means, not trying to live for other people's expectations of what we should and shouldn't have, those sort of things are pivotal to, I think, being able to build wealth, right?
Yeah.
I share a story with you about the wealth building. So I remember going to Auto Spa, getting an oil change, and I was talking to this older gentleman, and he was just proudly talking about his daughter, who just finished college a few years before, and she was a teacher here in Texas,
Mhm.
and she bought her first home. She came home and stayed with him for a while after college, and then she got her teaching job. Bought her first home, and she'd been in her home for a year at that point, and she was waiting she was getting ready to invest into a rental property. And
Yeah.
so I was just remember asking them questions and talking to them about it. And we all know teachers make way less than they should, right, for
Yep.
the importance of their job. And that just goes to show me, like, where somebody could be making six figures and they're just not moving the same way when it comes to their money. And you've got to ask
Yeah.
yourself why, right? And so, I asked her questions like, so I started asking questions like, well, what is she driving? What kind of car does she drive? Those sort of things. See if he would share it with me. He was like, well, she's, still driving the same car that I bought her in high school, Clue
Mm.
One,
Mm.
right? So she ain't get a job, and the first thing she do is like, okay, I'm about to stunt. I'm about
Yeah.
to get me this new Dodge Charger that just dropped, right?
Yeah.
And so that shows two different things. That's the one, for one, where her parents were obviously in a position to be able to provide her some type of vehicle, some type of education, right? So she's already starting at a certain point. But
Right.
then also they had to have shared this game with her when it comes to money and what's important and what is not important. What was important for her was to get a home that she can live and treat as an investment, right? And then to grow that into a rental
Mm.
property, right? That just goes to show you, like,
Bro.
her financial understanding, her financial literacy at 22, 23, 24 years old is just different than what I know mine was at 22, 23, 24 years old.
Yeah. Straight
I,
up.
I wasn't thinking about let me get this first house so I can get me a rental property and get this. I wasn't there yet.
Not at
I'm
all.
gonna be real.
Hold
And
on. What's
so,
what's old girl name, bro?
yeah, hey, and
Hey.
this was probably 3 years ago now. So I'm wondering
Hey.
where is she at now?
But nah, I mean that's smart, bro. When you talking about that again, when you're talking about a level playing field, not everybody has the same knowledge. When I was that age, it wasn't shared with me, or either maybe it was, and I just didn't take it serious. But the fact that she was able to come out, because what's normal is you come out of school, maybe you have college debt, you get some credit cards, get into some consumer debt, yeah, you get into car debt, all types of stuff. Like that's normal. So for somebody to come out, it's a smart move where she's staying with her folks for a little while, stack some bread, get into her house, and then start thinking about getting rental properties and all that.
Yeah,
I mean, there's people that never get to that point
yeah,
ever.
never,
So that's crazy.
man. Hey,
Hold on, my dog out here a while. Let me let him in right quick.
let them in.
I'll be right back.
Yeah.
I'll get you in a second, bro. Yeah, bro. That's dope. That's dope. What else was I gonna? What else was I gonna say? Um,
You know what I was thinking about, J. Flu?
what's up?
Was I got my first job. They had me some consistent money in 2006. My thing was to go ahead and I got this 2005 Monte Carlo. Car note was car note was way too much, more than half my check.
Yeah.
You know, I was ready to stunt. That's where my mentality was, right? I my financial knowledge at that point in time was, if you create bills, pay them, right?
Yep.
But it wasn't more so of a, you know, don't create debt.
Right.
Okay? Get you a car, you know, with cash. Save your money up so you can buy what you want. Buy that car. Have no extra month-to-month expenses with a car note, right? I wish that's something that I knew, you know, at 19 when I bought my Monte Carlo. No, but I was stunned though. I put the beat in the trunk. Hey.
Oh yeah.
And you couldn't tell me nothing, right?
Yeah.
Happy.
Yeah.
And
yeah. That's, I mean, famous last words. You know, I wish I would have known back then what I know now. I mean, and it rings true. But that's interesting because for me, I didn't come from you know, rock bottom or slums and have to kind of move up. And I didn't also come, you know, with the silver spoon, raised with the silver spoon. So I guess I classify myself as being middle class as far as my upbringing. But my parents never taught me about finances or how to handle money. And you know, I don't know if they knew either. But for me, I think that I was always geared away from spending money. I could remember just as a kid, I'll be playing a video game and the digital money I would never want to spend on getting a new outfit or whatever it was I was playing. That's just the way that I was wired. But the problem for me was, you know, in high school when I got out of high school, just trying to be like everybody else. And so I saw people that was going to, you know, hitting the mall every weekend, copping the freshest shoes that was coming out, getting the freshest fit that was coming out. So I was like, hey, I need to keep up. So let me go ahead. I'll get this department store credit card from here. I'll get this card from here just because they offered me to apply for it. So I'll go ahead and get it in. So I fell into some early pitfalls then, but as I got older, I realized within myself when I look back that it wasn't necessarily that I was bad with money from the standpoint of I went out and I just spent and I bought whatever. I was just very irresponsible. So for example, I could pay a bill. I could pay my credit card bill and I had money left over to do so, but I would be late on it. And I would let the due date pass by and I would get late fees that would start racking up. And that happened a lot with a lot of stuff. I just didn't take responsibility over it. So that really kind of got me in a hole early on in my life that I had to correct later on.
Yeah, definitely. And for me, like I said, my based on my financial, you know, education, save your money and you know, if you have bills, pay them, right? I could always pay my bills every month. I never was really in a situation where it's like, dang, I can't keep the lights on. I can't, you know, pay this credit card or this car note or my car insurance and those sort of things. But it was constantly like, you know, couldn't always maxed out. And now, mind you, I'm over here paying the minimum on credit cards, like right. But that's being able to pay it, right? And I'm sitting here like, man, like, shoot, well, I could pay all my bills, but it's like every time, you know, get paid, it's going to paying somebody else for the stunning, right, that I'm doing. And then it's like every time you get a raise or you get, you know, something on the job, that's quickly allocated to something more, and then you start to learn. It was like, what, if you look at if you start to see a trajectory, there's people making tens of $1,000s more each, in this year than they made last year, right? But then their lifestyle really hasn't changed that much. Like, it's not that much more fun, or they don't have that much more things, but they realize like they just as maxed out, $10,000 more as they were $10,000 ago.
Yeah.
And it's kind of just like that slow creep of increasing your your standard of living, or your expenses, right?
Yep.
Because it's easy to go grab that TV, right? Because we all want a TV, new TV, right? It's easy to grab that TV and put it on credit, right?
Easy.
And then be like, oh, I'm just gonna pay on it over the course of the next 2 years. But in the next 2 years, you might buy another TV and build on to that, and that just keeps building and building and building. And next thing you know, you're making more and more money, but yet you're still in a situation where you constantly got to pay somebody else.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know that firsthand. I would go from one job to the next, maybe get a promotion, maybe move to another company and be getting paid more. And I'd always be looking like, hey, why am I still not able to save? I got, a 10K, 15K raise. What's going on? But yeah, it's easy to increase your lifestyle when you see, okay, I got a little bit of extra money. I can go ahead and get this or add this on monthly, whatever the case is. I feel you on that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's funny just looking back at the journey, and we didn't share the dark days when it came to being broke, boy. Hey.
Yeah, and I got plenty of more stories too. Is it crazy? I got plenty more stories too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh no, go ahead.
Yeah, and one of the things I shared with you recently is like went from having the mentality of like, well, if I buy this, how much will I have left afterwards to carry me over to the next pay period?
Yep.
To now, my whole philosophy is like, well, if I create my expenses lower, how much of my money can I keep?
Right.
Can I keep? Right. And and a lot of times in our culture, we'll call somebody being cheap, right? And that's like a derogatory or frugal, or those sort of things. That's like a derogatory term for people, like the folks that don't spend their money, right? And like I shared with my brother the other day, it's like I don't think that's we got to change the perception on that. And like for me, if you cheap when it comes to like maybe your closest loved ones that are in need or something like that, because you like, hold on, I can't give you $15 to get you something to eat because I'm building wealth. I need that's different. That's bad cheap, right? Yeah. But if if you're making like choices where it's like I'd decondition myself to not need a brand new charger because I can afford it.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna buy that brand new charger. What I learned about cars, like I used to want, man. I keep bringing up the charger because I remember back in the day, I was like, man, I'm gonna get me a charger.
Too, bro.
That's what I wanted, right? But then I quickly started to learn, like realize I don't even like driving like that. So if I don't even value driving like that, why am I gonna go spend all my money on a car? This 2011 Altima, dirty as she is, still riding.
That's so funny, bro. And the thing is, I ain't never really been into cars like that. I never really been into material things like that. But I probably around the same age, I remember my thing was, I don't even think they make this car no more, bro. And it's ugly. It's ugly as hell. I don't know why I wanted it, but a Dodge Magnum. I was like, hey, I want to get that Dodge Magnum. That doesn't look clean. I don't think they make this car anymore, bro.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I wanted a Magnum too at one point in time.
Well, I was about to take it out too.
Yeah, you remember back in 05, 06, like, what I'm saying? Well, I just wanted to put some 22s on that thing.
Straight up.
On that or a Charger.
18s, but I keep them clean though.
Yeah, you wasn't gonna be able to tell me nothing. That was important though, right? And at that time, that was important. Now I couldn't care less. Can it get me safely from one place to another? That's what I want.
That's it right there.
That's what I want.
Yeah. What else was I gonna say? Oh no, I was gonna talk about the point too of just kind of bringing it back to not everybody's on the same level playing field, and I
Right.
understand that some people have to endure more adversity than others, and things like that. But I will say this: for me, I feel like I'm in a really good position as far as the income that I'm able to make from my 9 to 5 job. And even with that, so I don't have any college education. I don't have any certifications. I don't have anything like that. But I was given, uh, I caught a break at one point, and I seized a moment and I took advantage of that break to get into recruiting. I'm a technical recruiter. I have been for the past decade or so. And that job market is a pretty hot job market because software engineers, what have you, are super high demand. So anyway, I got into that or was given the opportunity to get along the path of a recruiter, not knowing what I was getting into. But I remember I seized the moment. I actually started at a company called KBR as it was an internship, but I wasn't going to school. I wasn't going to college whatsoever. I just my mom worked at that company, knew somebody, so they got me in there. I had no experience whatsoever. But in any of the jobs I've ever worked, I've never been the most intelligent, never been the most talented, never understood the most about the industry, the market, whatever. But I outworked most people on my teams to become successful. And so one of the things that I like saying is hard work beats talent any day. And for me, I think that that's something that I take pride in to the point where it's something more that I feel like you can control your destiny. Because again, it wasn't anything that I was naturally talented at or that I was that intelligent about, but I just kind of grasped the opportunity that was given to me and then just started chipping away at it. So
Yeah,
I think that was just to kind of be an encouragement for maybe somebody who's looking for a different career path or something like that. That I started off no education, no experience in something, and I just worked really hard to be able to be successful.
yeah. You see some opportunities. I just heard a lot of opportunities, and what you just said, and kind of how you seized it, right? And you built upon it, and then you just outright grind it. Like, now I know you. You know what I'm saying? I know you and how
Yeah,
you get down, and like you said, you may not have been the smartest, or you may not have been the most technical on your craft, or some of those things, but that hard work and dedication, right? And and,
yeah,
and hard work will be brilliance or intellect a
that's
hundred
it.
times out of 100 more in most of the situations, right?
That's
So
it.
that's
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 it.
that's amazing, man. So
Yeah. What do you think? So we can we can probably wind this episode or brainstorm or whatnot down, but
yeah,
is there anything for the next episode you think would be valuable for people to hear? Anything that you want to cover?
let's see, man. There's a million things I always want to cover. Um, I think it'd be good for us to hit on some, you know, I think it'd be good for us to hit on some, our specific techniques, things that we've kind of done, kind of the little small little hustles we're starting to engage in, those sort of things. I think that'd be a good one.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah, that'd be a good next episode.
Yeah, I mean, depending on where we drop this, if there's anybody out there that's watched the episode, if there's something specific that you might want to hear, learn about from us or from our techniques, to Armand's point, um, put it in the comments, and we'll be glad to cover that information. But um, no, I'm glad we can get episode 1 out of the way.
Yeah,
And shoot, after this, it's gonna be easy breezy from here.
easy breezy. So like for the audience, for the listeners and viewers, obviously we were light on specifics and light on details and very surface level today in our first episode. And this just wanted us to kind of
just get something out there, right? And we definitely implore you to hit those comments up, smash the like button, and you can be the driving force on what we cover next, and how we can get to more specifics. But we'll definitely be listening to our viewers and kind of the things that you guys want to listen to, want to hear, and we'll show our perspective. Again, only 2 perspectives out of millions, and so definitely may not be the most correct way, but it's our way, and look forward to sharing more content with y'all in the future.
Yeah. I appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll catch y'all next time.
Peace.
All right.